Hi guys and welcome, gnembon here. There are a couple things planned for today. The primary goal is to build a witch farm that can produce 32,000 drops per hour. But I'll also show you a few other cool things, like how to build an elevator through bedrock without breaking it, or how to make witches or hostile mobs in general to spawn in bright sunlight. So buckle up, get your snacks, what have you, and let's get started. Oh, and by the way, my world is not one of those crazy quad witch hut seeds, so we will be doing a witch hut setup, which are common to find within reasonable flying distance from 0-0 for most seeds. It's good because if you happen to have a generic seed, you still should be able to pull off one of these farms. But you might say that double witch hut farm should give you about 12,000 drops per hour, not 32,000, so gnembon, you made a typo. Not really. We will make this double witch hut setup act like a quintuple witch farm, which will give us this 32,000 drops. Just a quick note from the future me. I don't typically like chopping the project into separate videos, primarily because I don't like leaving projects unfinished, common issue with Minecraft Let's Players. But in this case I just combined all the materials I had and quickly realized that nobody would watch an hour-long video, so it will be chopped into a few parts, but it will definitely be finished by the end of it. So sit back and enjoy. But before we start with the witch farm, a few updates about the last introductory tour. Some of you suggested to add the red color to the beacon for the hostile mob switch, and that's what I've done. It's possibly the simplest way ever. Let's get down there. So as you can see, it's just two pieces of glass on the slime blocks, so it can be flicked one way or the other. And some of you guys, probably mostly eSkull fans, spotted that I use quite a bit of diorite for redstone constructions in my world. And that's true, I'm not hiding from it, and the reason is simply because it was quite an ugly block that I wouldn't use anywhere for any visible things in the world. And it is relatively bright, so it fits well into technical looks of redstone contraptions. I also don't think the default iron block texture is good looking either, and many people seem to use them for redstone circuits. Also, should I remind you about some history right here?
Yeah, one day.
Fast
I can't
forward
wait to
time.
know my
Oh
price.
yeah!
Oh, you're going down.
It's on now.
What are you talking? I'm getting a lot of it right now, and I'm running away with it. Bye.
Show's over. Gotta go.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. So I gotta be honest. Is that a good thing, or do you guys just already
that's
have
hot.
like 7 double chests?
That's the best gift.
You totally
of all
turning
time.
me on right now.
Okay.
Tango.
Okay.
Oh my god.
You guys getting a little hot and bothered from me right now? All right.
Yeah.
I can't brain because of diorite.
I know. Both of these diorite aficionados ended up taming dinosaurs for a living, so there might be some truth to this diorite curse. Anyways, my plan is to switch to concrete blocks once the stable 1.12 version is released, which didn't happen yet at the time of this recording. Also, by one of your suggestions, I replaced the clock that runs the farm inside the base to a simple daylight sensor. It does the job and it shouldn't break like most hopper clocks. So the problem I have right now in this relatively well-developed world is pretty much I run out of redstone. You see, there's no redstone here, there's nothing here. Let's check the main storage. Yeah, we have a few blocks and that's pretty much it. I would probably be able to find a few blocks here and there, but that's all the redstone I have to build the witch huts to make even more redstone. So I need a good source of it, don't I? And some of you probably have already noticed I have a few shulker boxes full of redstone ore. But if you think about it, redstone ore is much more valuable than redstone dust. In fact, at some point when I was doing some other project, I ran out of all my redstone ore blocks and I had to mine specifically for them. So I decided to collect everything that's non-renewable, like redstone ore blocks from now on. Other two methods of getting renewable redstone is trading with villagers and witch farms. Let me first bring you to my previous witch farm I have been using, which is at the end of this tunnel. Trading with villagers is for sure the faster method, but it requires pretty much to have a custom clicking script to move stuff in and out of villagers trading UI, which is to say mildly clunky to use. And building witch farms is at least a fascinating task, so let's stick to it. So to get here it took us pretty much no time with a fast horse. So here is my old witch farm, and on the sides we have some animal farms. We can check them in a moment. Okay, so let's pop up into spectator for a while. So I flattened all the terrain around this area and lit up all the caves as much as I could. This is the second version of the witch farm I built here, and this contraption here was really cool. Was allowing me to measure in survival rates of the farm depending on the height of the player AFK area. Player would first stand here up top, and there was a clock every 10 minutes. dropping AFK player one level at a time. And here we had the drops elevator, which would open here to the sides, allowing drops to be picked up by this hopper and placed into the minecarts that would be over here. Then I was adding a colored wool to the minecart with the same color as the level player was AFKing at, and stored it in the cart storage area so I could check the numbers after AFKing is done. Pretty cool stuff and utterly useless, but I loved it. Me and numbers, eh? Here is the witch farm. It's based on Exuma's design using water to push them off. I added this extra lip with spawning blocks which significantly improved the results while still being quite appalling, about 40% below what a witch farm can produce. And all because of the water. Also spiders, which start to spawn at some point on the extended piston head, sometimes in the 1.9 snapshots. So, as a survival player, you would show up in this portal room here up top. Here you could AFK above the farm, overlooking the historic, fun but useless contraption. And when you're done, you could just simply hop through this hole down the collection area. You can grab your stuff. You can go through this portal back to the entrance portal in the Nether network. Pretty cool. Now let's check the animal farms while we are at it. Here's my old animal barn farm. You might see some death and destruction because this farm was built way in 1.8 before entity cramming. But even back then I knew that for these kind of farms one needs to designate an isolated area with as many entities as your computer can handle, so you can quickly get lots of foods and leave the area so it's not lagging anymore. So here you would grab some feed, let's take wheat, and go feed the animals. Different animals have different sizes. Some required cobblestone walls, like rabbits, and some are fine with fences, like pigs, and some, like cows, need iron bars to separate adults from babies. Then I would simply feed all of them. The younglings will go to the water streams and get transported to this silo. Here I can AFK for 20 minutes, and once they grow I can slay them all at once. Back in the olden days, I could breed about 600 of them at once and come back home with a chest full of food within 20 minutes. Pretty cool stuff until I'd figured that the proper passive mob farming is not only cooler but also can be faster if you build it properly. Now with entity cramming, this concept would need some reworking, but you could bypass cramming in this case with a piece of vine or a ladder, so that's not a problem until they find it abusive and fix it. On the other end of this node we have my wool farm. I still believe this is the most effective way of getting large amounts of wool on demand if you don't want to craft them from string. And just again, you would designate an area so it doesn't lag out other areas in the world, and breed as many sheep as your FPS can allow, and then grab a bunch of shears and then run around like crazy and get all the wool you need. Then providing you have access to bone meal, cactus farm, cocoa bean farm, and squid, you can dye them any color, maybe except the dyes that require blue in the recipe. Oh, and you need a swamp flower farm for that as well, but that's easy too. Back to the proper passive mob farming. So we are in the tunnel that leads to the ocean monument, and we are in the passive mob farm area. Here's the first passive mob farm I built before I knew how to do it properly, how spawning works, etc. So this is the nether collection area, and if you pop to the portal, yeah, it is massive. I even needed to get down to mines to get some more dirt because I used all my dirt I had for this project. It's a real lag monster, impressive but rather pointless design. Now I pretty much use it just to get horses, and only because the other farm is not hooked up to the nether yet, and probably won't be. And we'll be using it for our current witch farm projects as well, because I will be needing 3 horses for that. But about that later. Speaking of the other farm, let's get there real quick. This was the real game changer for me. It was about 1 year ago when I really understood how mob spawning works, and started digging into the game code to get answers to questions, not relying on what other people say and what wiki says. So I designed this farm that produces 10 times more jobs with a quarter of the lag or water spread of the other one. There's also a mushroom variant of this farm I made up for Iskal that's even more lag friendly because of mushroom detection using string, but in principles they are exactly the same. And I think I made quite a good job to make it look cool. And as you can see, it provided me with tons of food, pretty much all of it in one AFK session. I never hooked it up to the nether portals for the looting and horse collection option because I jumped right after building into some other projects. And the Cycraft version of this farm is also pretty much the same design, just a flat layout. It's easier to build, but not as cool looking. Yeah, cool stuff. Back to the witch farming. Instead of renovating the old witch hut, I thought I would simply find another location and build a proper witch hut from scratch. Old witch hut was barely making a double chest of witch drops per hour, and with this one my goal is to at least have a double chest of redstone itself per hour. And you can achieve it if you have a dual witch setup, while making sure you get maximum spawns from them and you kill all of them witches yourself with looting. This should give me about 4000 redstone per hour, which is a double chest and something. Needless to say, if you are one of those crazy people with quad witch huts, same approach I will be presenting today should allow you to double these numbers, but double setup is the only thing I could count on with this seed. Obviously, to find a proper location I used a mist. I zoomed out to the max and start searching everywhere up to 50,000 blocks away from 00 for dual configuration. And they are quite easy to spot because witch huts that are close enough would simply overlap with these zoom settings. I found 3 of such dual setups within the search area, but this one was the best, around 22,000 on X and negative 37,000 on Z, with huts being only 160 blocks away from each other and oriented in a straight line in a north-south configuration. To get here through the nether it would be about 5,500 blocks, which should be doable. So to get there we will make what I would like to call a light way that will be designed to be used solely within Elytra. For that we only need just a few torches because the path we'll be making should only work as a guideline for the flyer where to go. For that, given my starting position and the destination, I computed the angle at which I needed to be heading, which in this case is negative 149.9 degrees. And you have to be exact, because with such distances, 1/10 of a degree means we will be off track by several blocks. I think that these kind of lightways for Elytra is a great option for travel these days, and unlike other mechanical methods of fast travel like piston bolts, it can go at any angle. So assuming the player walking speed is 4.3 blocks per second, if I place a torch every 1.2 seconds, this will give me a torch every 5 point something blocks, making a clean continuous path of guidelight. So I have prepared 17 stacks of torches with tons of food on me. I have rebound my right click action to a key on a keyboard, so I can call it nicely with an automatic keyboard typing program. The only reason being I want to have a very nice even distribution of torches, plainly for the looks. I'll be holding the forward key myself, making sure I switch the stacks of torches with the number key when it runs out, so I always have a torch into place. All this time mouse will be unplugged to keep the direction exactly at 149.9 degrees, and I will only pause for a moment in the middle to swap the hotbars for a few new torches. Oof, guys, we made it. What a trip. You might be thinking it's so flat and boring, but I found it nerve-wracking for some reason. I don't know, never mind. Couple of conclusions I had after this trip. First of all, I should have taken a few more stacks of torches than needed. I almost ran out of them for some reason. Second, I greatly overestimated the food requirements. Check this out. I didn't even eat a single piece of steak and my hunger haven't even moved from max. All of these over 5,000 blocks on a single saturation from one steak from the beginning. That's insane. Also guys, we nailed it. The target we need to get is exactly here, which is awesome. We missed it by, I don't know, like 2 blocks. So now we need to go down, but I don't have anything to break bedrock with me at the moment. In fact, breaking bedrock is not necessary, because we will be building an elevator that allows to warp through bedrock without breaking it. Pretty cool. For that we'll need a rail right here, with some blocks to lock in place and a minecart like so. Now we need a pillar up exactly here and build a portal at Y187. Yep, you are not mistaken, it looks like we are preparing for a gold farm, but it is part of the witch farm we will be building. Okay, we have arrived, spawned on the tree, which is expected, and let's quickly capture the witches. These witches that spawn with the witch huts will never despawn and don't count toward the mob cap, so we can use them as decoration for the future witch huts we'll be building here. Come on, come on. Yes, one done. Now we'll go with the other one. Come on, come on. Come on. Yeah, as smooth as butter. So, we are here about 30 minutes and 3 server crashes later. And all of it because of us loading this entire amplified terrain around us. With all these water and lava falls updating light levels falling down from these overhangs, this quickly caused the TPS to drop on the server to about 3, which eventually caused it to crash 3 times. But everything is now resolved, and we can now use this terrain for anything. Just a small warning for all of you about loading fresh chunks in the amplified terrain that this might happen, but what you need to do is just wait for a couple of minutes until it resolves itself. Also, while we are at it, we might as well check if the hut's generated correctly. And we can see the witches are spawning on the top floor, on the middle floor, and here on the bottom floor as well. And the same is with the other witch hut, so that's great. Now with the witches secured, we can check the last missing component of the farms. But first discuss the farm design. Obviously I will be using my own design with skeletons and iron golems for various reasons, but primarily it has great rates, that's what we need here, and second, it's a really cool design and uses really cool mechanics. It had some bad luck on the Hermitcraft 4 server because somebody AFK'd in a position so arrows were getting stuck in the lazy chunks, which caused the server to crash. Let's take a boat, shall we? Here, since we have a designated area for the farm, it shouldn't ever be an issue. And this is not just an issue with this particular farm. Any farm that, for example, sends items via water streams, while a player is AFK in an unfortunate location, causing this to get stuck into lazy chunks, may cause your world to crash. Also, technically golems should be 100% safe with this 5-wide curtain of water, but you know, Minecraft entities can be glitchy sometimes, so we will be checking on the golems and we will also make sure that they cannot be shot from the outside by properly encasing them with blocks. Otherwise, a single skeleton that spawns outside while we are in the area could just wreck them. So they say never dig down, but for this farm not to be a pain in the butt, we need one more thing somewhere near the farm. We need this skeleton spawner. Oh yeah. Not interested? Get wrecked. So I went back to the nether and I have spawned on that ledge over there and pillared up to this location just below the bedrock where the exit is gonna be. And I moved the portal here. Oh, regarding the hunger thing with traveling very long distances, I should have checked the code, or at least the wiki. Normal walking apparently doesn't deplete hunger at all. You could technically walk indefinitely providing you don't do anything else that causes hunger. It's good to know. So to get down from the bedrock ceiling, we'll be using this portal we built up top. And to go back home, we'll be building a minecart elevator that will go through the bedrock ceiling. For that, I powered the block with a lever on the other side, and we have an activator rail on this block which is powered. So when I place the minecart here, we can see it's kinda wobbly. So when we jump into it, it'll kick us automatically out, placing us just slightly above the rail, hopefully inside the other minecart up top we placed before. So check what happens. Yep, we got automatically kicked in the other minecart, and from here we can continue the elevator. Pretty sweet and permanent solution without the need of breaking the bedrock. Now we need to go back home for a few supplies for the project. For that we need to face in the opposite direction we were facing going in, so it was 149.9 last time, so this time is 30.1, which is just a complement to 180. We don't need to be super exact, as we will have the torches to guide us, and that's why we place them. So we need to start flying, and then set a proper pitch, which is anywhere between -3 to -10, and choose the altitude. In this case I will use 140. It helps to switch the view and the angles to Quake Pro, but it's not necessary, and then simply watch the altitude. And we only need right clicking with your mouse when you run out of power or reached our altitude and not moving the mouse at all. With higher angles like -10 degrees, the flight will be more efficient on the fireworks, but a bit slower as it will bump up significantly every time we use the firework. And in case of the lower pitch, we would need to use fireworks faster, which will get us home quicker regardless of the pitch. And in case we use the lower pitch, we would use the fireworks faster, which will get us home quicker and use less elytra. Let's switch to 3. Regardless of the pitch, we need to fire a rocket when we reach whatever we chose for cruising altitude. In this case it's 140. And it takes about 32 rockets with -3 pitch and 15 with -10. But it's only 3 minutes with lower pitch, which gives us about 30 blocks per second, which is pretty much as fast as you can go with an elytra. I hope Mojang doesn't see this, because they might find it to be abusive like translocators in the past, because it's too fast for travel. Anyway, let me prepare a bunch of things. We will be back on the project. So I moved my main shulker box storage and brought a bunch of other shulker box materials for the project. So you can start with the project without the need of running back and forth from home, hopefully. I also built this glass cage for our 2 special witches in a very specific place. You'll see later why, but first I need to lure them in. Entire project building I'll do with hostile mob switch turned on. There is no need to have mob spawning because everything was already sketched in creative, and here I'm just rebuilding it from the sketch in this area. So I'll probably turn it off right away when I'm fully done with farms and be ready for lighting up the area, so I can see where the mobs are spawning. But other than that, it will be mostly time-lapses, and for time-lapses we need some special music, appropriate for the nature of the project. The dingy witch hut in the middle of a dingy bog. So let's get cracking. So the frames of the farms are done, and we are here in the AFK spot, which is equidistant to the farthest corners of the both farms, which are about 125 blocks away, which gives us a few blocks of leeway, making us light up literally 3 segments of caves to allow us to have the mob cap to be 100% times empty, meaning we get spawning attempts every game tick. Obviously, lighting up the area also will be a challenge for a good overnight performance, but with this AFK spot it's gonna be mostly related to lighting up the surface of the swamp. So you might be questioning yourself how the hell you plan to bring the witches from the witch huts to this AFK point, so you can kill them with your looting to get the promised raids. Especially now with piston translocation is fixed. And you are correct, even more so you even just gave me the answer.